this is a joint WBO, IPBU World International Championship. Tonight, fighting out of the red corner where he weighed in at 243 pounds. He stands 180 centimeters in height, 39 years of age, and comes from Freeport in the Bahamas and trains out of Vero Beach, Florida. He has a fight record of 47 fights, 34 wins, 11 losses, 2 draws, 19 wins by way of KO. He's the current WBF International Heavyweight Champion. He's the WBC Caribbean Regional Champion. He is the Caribbean Tank. And ladies and gentlemen, Sherman! His opponent in this WBO IPBU International World Title event fought over 12 by 3-minute rounds. He weighed in at 238 pounds. He stands 188 centimeters in height, 28 years of age, hails from Auckland in New Zealand, fights out of Spokane in Washington, where he's trained by the Native American champion Joe Hill. With a fight record of 60 fights, 50 wins, 5 losses, 5 draws, 20 wins by KO. He's rated WBC number 5, WB4 number 8. He's the current WBO Oriental Heavyweight Champion, the WBO Asia Pacific Champion, the WBO China Champion, the WBC Asia Pacific Champion, the New Zealand Boxing Federation Heavyweight Channel, and the WBC Continental American Champion. And ladies and gentlemen, he is the Hilliard Hammer and China's favorite panda, Chauncy Welliver! Your referee for this event, ladies and gentlemen, in this championship event, is Mr. Ringside from Australia, Mr. Brad McCarthy. Your judges, Mohammed Royce, Mr. Waldo and Mr. Salvo Lagumba.
WBO IPBU 国际拳王争霸赛，这是一场12回合的顶尖对决，135磅。
Boxers to center ring, please.
Well, Steve, you know something? We've seen minimum weights and bantam weights and lighter weights. Now it's time for the big boys.
Taking a look at them stylistically, Chauncy Welliver in the black trunk certainly is not going to make the cover of Muscle and Fitness anytime soon here, Joe.
No, but I'll tell you, he's fought a lot heavier than he is now. Now he's at 238. He's a svelte 238 after coming into the ring as high as a 270-pound range. So he moves well for a big man. He's got a good jab, and I'll tell you, he just has talk about charisma. This guy has personality to burn. So they're both very nice guys. There's not a villain in the ring, but we're going to see who establishes themselves first and who establishes themselves last.
For Chauncy Welliver's last bout was a 10-round decision over Burt Cooper in Jefferson City, Missouri. And as it relates to the Tank, Sherman Williams seemed to have things going his way against Evander Holyfield last January before that fight was stopped abruptly. Sherman Williams to this day believes that the real deal quit on him in that fight in West Virginia.
Nice right hand from the Tank. Welliver better watch out because the Tank has some power and he's coming at him right now.
Early rally here for Sherman Williams, backing up Welliver up along the corner. Welliver seems to be very uncomfortable with the physicality and the power of Sherman Williams.
这个喊加油的，他们听不懂，咱们喊 KO。1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Joe, Sherman Williams is just one of these guys that just simply refuses to go away. And it's not a guy that wins all the time, but you look at the quality of his record. Look at some of these names: Jamil McCline, Obed Sullivan, Al Cole, Samson Bahua, Ty Fields, Ruslan Shagayev, and as I just mentioned, the real deal, Evander Holyfield. This has been a very storied career.
He also took on Obed Sullivan when Obed was a top on his way to becoming a top contender, and Taurus Sykes. So yes, he's been in there with some absolute beasts, and he's not afraid of anyone. He's certainly not afraid of Chauncy Welliver, and he told us as much. So we're going to see it. This is going to be an interesting fight. Chauncy Welliver, who has really hopscotched around the Asian Pacific Rim, New Zealand, Australia, with some less than stellar opponents. He's in there tough tonight.
Welliver comes in with a record of 53-5, 20 stoppages. Sherman Williams, we just talked about that record. Perhaps one of the most real records in boxing. Nothing phony about what he has done in there with the record of 34-11-2, 19 stoppages. That's the end of round number 1. We are going 12 rounds for the WBO China Zone heavyweight title and the WBO Asia Pacific heavyweight belts. And we take a look at some of the action from round number 1.
There you go. This is an early flurry from the tank. And Welliver, as you said at the time, Steve, very uncomfortable with the physicality of the tank. Sherman just measuring his man there and then coming in with a big flurry. Bang, big right hand to the head. And Welliver, so far, he's a little bit confused. The tank, so far, with plenty of gas in the tank, has gotten off to a fast start.
And you take a look at some of the audience here enjoying the action. We are here at the Grand Waldo Conference and Exhibition Center in Macao, off the mainland of China. Yes, boxing has arrived in Macao. We begin round number 2. Sherman Williams in the white, in the black trunks is Chauncy Welliver.
Well, summer has arrived in Macao, and as we were told today, the weather is heating up, and the boxing match here is going to heat up between these two. But the island of Macao, I'm sure, Steve, you're very impressed with the beauty of the island itself, but also by the development and the casinos. As we mentioned in our opening, 3 times the gambling receipts of Las Vegas. This place is an absolute gambler's paradise. Golf courses, beautiful weather, and now an absolute passion for boxing that doesn't show any sign of diminishing.
Well, Bob Arum a couple of years ago talked about putting a Manny Pacquiao promotion out here, and with the large concentration of Filipinos, that would be ideal. We took a driver out there yesterday around downtown at the casino area. It's a good right hand from Sherman Williams. There is certainly an amount of boxing interest in this country and also in this region. I don't think it's far-fetched with the casino support. If you look at some of the new structures being built here, Joe, this right here, this area can absolutely compare to Las Vegas in many respects.
And Anita Dare, too. I mean, Manny's not the only Philippine fighter fighting on a championship level. So, you know, there are a lot of prospects out there who could fight here. As Bob mentioned, Bob Arum mentioned, the Filipino champions would certainly be a tremendous draw here and pull them into the casino. So, you know, and there are many, many casinos here. We have the Venetian and the Wynn, and all the top shelf names are represented here. Stanley Ho, of course, for years built casinos here in the Sands is here, and just an endless array of entertainment here for your boxing fans. Now, you came from Los Angeles. What was the nonstop? How many hours?
It was 13.5 to Taipei, another hour getting into Macau. Certainly been a very nice place to visit. Round number 2, not much happening. But I have to tell you, it looks like Sherman Williams has shook up Chauncy Welliver up along the ropes. Does a right hand. So Sherman Williams early on in round number 2 shaking the boots of Chauncy Welliver.
I tell you, you know, Chauncy likes the kid and he likes the clown, and that's really part of it.
He's complaining about his left eye. He may have gotten a thumb, although those thumbs now are attached, but he's certainly being affected in terms of his vision, and also the right hands of Sherman Williams, who I think may be up 2 rounds to nothing here.
He's pulling at that eye. He seems to think that it's a cut eye, but it's not cut.
2 more big right hands from Sherman Williams, punctuating round number 2.
Let's see in a replay, Steve, and we can tell what Chauncy's complaining about here.
That might have been it. Right there, Joe. That was a big right hand. That's going to hurt anyone's eye. Just an overhand right into the corner. And this ended up being a huge round for the tank, Sherman Williams.
I don't see you see their heads clashing at all? I don't see their heads clashing. I see all clean shots, and Chauncy starts pawing away at that eye, and I just don't understand what his complaint is.
A quick start throughout the first 2 rounds from Sherman Williams, the tank from the Bahamas. So we'll see if Chauncy Welliver can get his footing on the ground here in round number 3 of this 12-round fight for the WBO China Zone heavyweight title and the WBO Asian Pacific heavyweight belt. Chauncy Welliver is going to have to generate some offense here. This has been a very tepid performance throughout the first 6-7 minutes.
And he's not taking advantage of his reach, and you know, Chauncy has a you know, an equal reach to Sherman Williams, and he's just not taking advantage of it. We understand from Chauncy's corner that Chauncy's big complaint is that Sherman Williams has been hitting on the break. So that explains why we didn't see an obvious foul. We didn't see a thumb.
Oh, another right hand. That one just misses the chin. Yeah, Joe, my retort to Chauncy Welliver would be to protect yourself at all times. I think it's very simple. Sherman Williams has his game face on. I think Chauncy Welliver right now mentally does not seem to be in this ring in Macao.
No, he doesn't, and he has been having some walkovers. The last time he lost was way back in 2008. He's 18-0 since that loss to our old friend Mr. Solis and Orleander Solis, and I'm just wondering if Chauncy, who expressed a lot of confidence at the weigh-in yesterday, really was expecting this much of a difficult bout from his opponent Sherman Williams.
Joe, we talk about seasoning. One guy has faced a much tougher run of guys. He's gone through a gauntlet. We went through it earlier. Chauncy Welliver, to a certain degree, does have a built-up record. I think we're seeing the class here. We're talking about the professionalism of Sherman Williams. He looks like the guy that is more prepared for a tough, arduous battle tonight.
Well, when Sherman Williams told us that he was not afraid at all of Chauncy Welliver, thus far, the activity in this fight would indicate that he was absolutely being truthful. But, you know, it's early, and Chauncy has 2 belts on the line and a lot of pride. So, believe me, this thing is going to heat up, and whether or not Sherman, at the advanced age of 39, has the ability to go a full 12 rounds remains to be seen.
Chauncy Welliver, though, to be quite honest, looking very sluggish here. We are at the tail end of round number 3, and quite frankly, I'm not so sure he's done much to even win this round. Whatever offense was generated was at the hands of Sherman Williams, the Caribbean tank, who's off to a very solid start through 3 rounds. He may have built himself an early lead here in Macao. All right, we take a look at some of the action from round number 3. Again, Chauncy Welliver having almost no success in here throughout the first 9 minutes.
No, I agree with you, Steve, and I tell you, that round was better for Welliver only because Sherman Williams hit him less.
Yeah.
Not because of anything Chauncy was able to do on the offensive side.
So 3 rounds down, we begin round number 4. Joe Antonacci, how's your scorecard look?
It's a shutout so far, 30-27 for Sherman Williams. But like we said, it's a 12-round championship fight, and the champion is absolutely determined to keep his belt.
Guys, there's some bizarre behavior by Chauncy Welliver. He looks like a guy who almost doesn't want to fight. Having a small conversation with that referee, I think he needs to just bear down and focus on the fight at hand.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, the problem may be that you have a guy who's naturally used to clowning a little bit, and he just wasn't expecting the Sherman the Tank Williams that showed up. He was expecting a walkover opponent, which is not what he's getting. But listen, as we say, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. 12 rounds for 3 belts. Both Chauncy's WBO Asia Pacific and his WBO China Zone and the IPBU belt, International Professional Boxing Union belt, are on the line here. So, big right hand from Sherman Williams, glancing. Chauncy rolled with it, however, still landed.
You look at the biography of Chauncy Welliver, you see a lot of Auckland, New Zealand on the box rack, and I asked him about that earlier. The bottom line is he actually moved out there back in the early 2000s, went over there serving as a sparring partner to one David Tua back in his days as a contender. He liked it so much, in fact, he says that when his days are done fighting, he will be living there full time.
Yeah, he comes from a very beautiful part of the country, also Spokane, Washington. His original nickname, Chauncy Welliver, was the Hilliard Hammer. Hilliard being a neighborhood in Spokane, Washington. I actually was ring announcing a fight of his in Spokane, Washington, much earlier in his career. And since then, like you said, his travels have taken him down to New Zealand and throughout the Pacific Rim. But tonight, he's in trouble. They're talking now. The referee doesn't go for any of Chauncey's antics. He doesn't like him talking back. He doesn't like him questioning his decisions. He doesn't like him asking about hitting on the brake, etc. He doesn't even like him talking to his opponent.
It's just been a very solid, steady, professional effort by Sherman Williams. Nothing really flashy. He had the explosion in round number 2. Quite frankly, though, he just looks like the more seasoned, savvy guy in there. I'm not so sure Welliver's done enough to even win round number 4.
Well, you look at a Sherman Williams, you know, he is one tough character. He's won 9 out of 10. He's only been stopped once in his career. That was back in 1999 by Robert Davis. So he's in there for the long haul. And even when he fought Ruslan Chagaev, he lost a unanimous decision but was not knocked out.
So there you have it. At the end of 4 right now, the tank is rolling. And we take a look at some of the action from round number 4, Joe. And there's a glancing right hand. But you know what? Although that's not a flush shot, you'd have to think there's not a lot to choose from. One guy may be simply doing a little bit more than the other, and that guy would be Sherman Williams, that man right there in the corner.
Exactly. You can land 40 more punches than your opponent, or you can land 4, and you still can win in 10-9 round, which thus far, I've given 4 rounds to 0. Through the first 4 for Sherman Williams. So Chauncey's dug himself a hole. Let's see how he gets out.
So we begin round number 5. Let's see if the momentum can shift here for Chauncy Welliver, the boxing panda, who's had a rough go of it here in Macau.
We mentioned Native American boxing hero Joe Hipp in Chauncey's corner. You know, Joe's got to be letting him know that thus far, things are certainly not going the way they expected. It's going to be a tough puzzle to solve, though, Sherman Williams, because he's an old, wily veteran. He doesn't give a lot of openings. Been stopped once in his career, and that was, over a decade ago, almost 15 years ago. So there's not a lot there to take advantage of, Steve.
One thing about Sherman Williams, he is absolutely tough. You've seen his fights time and time again. Even in defeat, he does not get railroaded physically, and he's very stout. And just looking at the 2 physiques, and again, I realize this is not bodybuilding, but Sherman Williams looks to be in much better physical condition than Welliver.
Welliver really is the boxer. And he hasn't been effective. He's using his left hand. He's using his right hand lead a little bit more effectively this round than he had in previous rounds. Probably an even round with a minute and a half to go. Again, talking to the referee.
Boy, Welliver is doing a lot of conversating, not doing enough fighting, though, to be quite honest with you. This has been a very tepid performance for the Hilliard Hammer, who has to find himself, I would think, down on the scorecard. Certainly on yours, you have this fight a shutout through 4.
I do. He's winning the war of the words, but that just doesn't translate over to the judges' scorecard. He's now complaining about the slipperiness of the sticker in the center of the ring. When that plastic gets wet, it can be slick. But
oh, there's a right hand right on the chin. Welliver shakes it off, but that may have been the most definitive blow here of the 5th round.
It's going to be slick for both fighters. I think does he not seem distracted, Steve?
No, well,
everything that's going on.
Joe, one guy's acting like a pro. One guy is acting like a solid professional fighter. The other guy, Chauncy Welliver, is acting anything but. In fact, he looks like a guy, half of himself does not want to be in there. There's been no real consistent offense mounted by Chauncy Welliver. So another round in the books. I'm not so sure you can even give that one to Welliver. And it's a pretty good performance so far for Sherman Williams out here in Macau, trying to take a couple of belts from the Boxing Panda. That's the end of the 5th.
Well, there wasn't less action in that round, Steve, to document than in the previous rounds. I'm actually going to give that round, the first one that I've given to Chauncy Welliver, almost by default. Sherman's punch rate definitely slacked off that round, but make no mistake about it, that doesn't mean that Welliver had a breakthrough round by any stretch of the imagination. It's really almost more of the same, just that Williams did so much less.
So we begin round number 6. So Welliver scratches on the scorecard of our own Joe Antonacci. It's Steve Kim and Generous Joe here ringside from the Grand Waldo Conference and Exhibition Center in Macau off of mainland China. 12 rounds here for the WBO China Zone Heavyweight title and the WBO Asia Pacific Heavyweight belt.
You know, one of the nice things about Macau, as you mentioned, Steve, as Sherman Williams lands a combination to the body of Chauncy Welliver, is its proximity to Hong Kong. Only an hour ferry ride, a high-speed ferry ride from Macau, and you're in Hong Kong, which is, of course, a world capital for fashion and food and design and all the rest. Referee now talking to both fighters, saying, hey, listen, enough talking, enough nonsense, let's fight.
Well, I think that conversation needs to be directed in one direction. This has been a very odd fight, I think, for Chauncy Welliver. It's not been very focused, has not had a specific game plan. I'm not exactly sure what they are talking about here.
A lot to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes referees have to give instructions to fighters mid-fight.
Let's see if Welliver can here just act like a professional, put together 3 good minutes of solid boxing. Quite frankly, I think he has failed in that regard throughout the first 5.5 rounds.
He landed a left hand there that was a little bit better than what he has offered in the past. Williams still trying to work behind the jab. He backed him up a little bit with that left hand. Left to the body, right to the body.
One thing about Sherman Williams, he just looks like the guy controlling the action. And again, left hook to the...
Steve, I'll tell you, Welliver has no answer this round so far. Big combinations for Sherman the Tank Williams, and
oh, good right hand by Sherman Williams.
limited response from Welliver.
Joe, is it just me, or does Welliver seem to look more and more discouraged each round? This seems to be one of those bad nights at the office.
I don't think anything has gone right for him in there tonight. He seems distracted. He seems to have a lack of motivation. He seems frustrated. And all those things are fine, and many of us feel those things in our daily lives. But as professionals, you have to you have to overcome them.
But Joe, the reality is when you face Sherman Williams, you know what you're getting. That is a hard night at the office.
And Welliver told us that he had he had his best camp ever. Glad that he came in the 238-pound range rather than his previous weight, and yet not showing much tonight.
So we are halfway through, and the dialogue continues. That's two-sided. Right now, the fight is one-sided, all in the favor of Sherman Tank Williams. And we take a look at that rally by Sherman Williams that may have been enough to win round number 6. Overhand right on the chin. Welliver handles it well, but again, all the offense, Joe, coming in one direction.
Absolutely. Welliver again, and here's Joe Hipp, who actually was a pretty good offensive fighter, talking very up close to Chauncy, telling him, no nonsense here. He has to be telling him he's way behind. I don't see how it's possible that any judge could have given Welliver more than he called me generous.
Yeah.
The generous one round that I gave Chauncy.
Round 7.
Boy, I tell you, every round, Chauncy Welliver comes out, has a conversation with the referee, complaining about something. Meanwhile, Sherman Williams just acted like the professional and just won one round after another. There's no doubt about it, Joe. I know it's a cliche, but one guy seems to want the fight more than the other.
Yeah, and it is surprising because at this point in their career, they both need this fight desperately because it's two journeymen trying to say, I'm the better journeyman. I deserve to move forward in my career while the other guy takes a step back. And, you know, a lot of the criticism in the boxing community pointed toward Chauncy Welliver has been over the weakness in his competition. And, you know, this is showing you when he's in the ring with a real heavyweight, with a real background, who's fought some other real heavyweights. He's coming up short so far, Steve.
A couple of good right hands to the body by Sherman Williams here in round number 7, who's just fought at a real consistent, steady pace. Has not been spectacular, but quite frankly has been the more professional of the two as he lands a jab a few seconds ago.
Reminds me a little bit of the Atomic Bull, Oliver McCall, who at his best put forth a consistent effort similar to what we're seeing from Sherman Williams.
I think the biggest difference, though, is the Atomic Bull, Oliver McCall, certainly among the most volatile fighters of the past generation, had one-punch knockout power. Sherman Williams really is not that guy. He's kind of a steady grinder, going to be very consistent. He's not going to go anywhere. But he also is a guy that has mental stability, as you could just tell by his record. And that is certainly shown tonight as he comes up short with the right hand.
Exactly. I'm just thinking of a guy a little shorter in stature who just keeps on coming, plugging away. Like a bull, you know, rather than... the Tank is a good nickname, but if he wasn't the Tank, I think he would have been the bull because... and thus far, he's given Chauncy Welliver the horns because he's been goring him on a consistent basis so far. Well, that's going to be a new complaint for Chauncy as he slips on the white canvas.
There's another right hand to the body that's been an effective weapon and tool for Williams. Williams, though, he's not been spectacular, but again, it's a case of one guy doing just a little bit more than the other. I think that has been Sherman Williams' key round after round. He's done just a little bit more, Joe. And there's a left hook to the body. Boy, Chauncy Welliver, every round, he is just looking at the referee. I think he is asking almost in a way to get a point deducted just for complaining.
10 seconds.
Chauncy Welliver, Esquire, plenty of objections this evening.
And that's the end of round number 7. Williams and Welliver trudge along.
Referee telling the dignitaries and the representatives from the WBO at ringside that after every round they need to clean that patch in the center of the ring, the advertising patch, with towels, because when it gets wet, it gets slick. In the meantime, Chauncy Welliver, Steve, quite frankly, has more to worry about than that patch in the center, and he seems to be distracted by everything other than his opponent, Sherman Williams, who, upon whom he should be focusing his attention.
There's a right hand to the chest of Welliver by Williams that comes up just a little bit short, but it's been clear most of the clear, telling, damaging blows in this matchup have been landed by the Caribbean Tank, Sherman Williams, who comes in with a record of 34-11-2. Certainly one of the most hard-nosed competitors in the heavyweight division. Joe, it seems to be, there's a right hand right on the chin of Welliver. So Williams, again, taking an early lead here in round number 8. But, Joe, I think you talk about other sports, strength of schedule. This is really showing up about which guy is the hardened professional, and that would be the Tank.
Absolutely. If you look, you know, he's really run the gamut of a who's who of, if not champion quality, challenger quality, top challenger quality. Obed Sullivan at one point, a top challenger. Taurus Sykes, Ty Fields at one point, a top contender. Ruslan Chagaev. So you have a situation where the guy who has fought the better opposition is showing this evening that he absolutely...
Big right hand by Sherman Williams over the top. Brings a smile from Welliver, but again, is one of these telling blows that I think could swing what has been a rather even round, except for the part that Sherman Williams is landing the harder blows.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for Welliver that on a big stage here in Macau as the main event, with 3 titles on the line, he's just not giving the performance that certainly that he expected or that any of us expected.
Joe, looking at the face of Chauncy Welliver, who takes another right hand, you are seeing slight bruising and welts underneath both eyes. So the damage done at the hands. There's another right hand that kind of slides off the chin. But you see another round being won by Sherman Williams. You're starting to see the effect of the, I don't want to say consistent attack of Sherman Williams, but certainly something that has been more evident than what Chauncy Welliver is developing. He is certainly starting to feel the effects of the fist of Sherman Williams.
And I'll tell you, Steve, Chauncy never went to the bank early, never put in any money in the bank with a body attack, and he hasn't done anything to slow the tank down.
So a series of right hands has won this round for Williams. Chauncy Welliver, his hole continues to dig. And Joe, we take a look at some of these right hands that I thought made it a very lopsided round number 8. Through 8, Joe, how do you have this fight scored?
So far, I have it 79-73, a decisive 7 rounds to 1 for our tank, Sherman Williams. You know, Chauncy is a likable guy. He was likable at the weigh-in. He's congenial. He's fun with the fans. He came up with the Panda nickname when he's fighting in China. But he just hasn't backed it up with an effort that you would expect.
I think we have to be honest. This has been a terrible performance for Chauncy Welliver, who I think needs to get back his focus on the man in front of him. And just one note here, in between rounds, there was somebody with the towel cleaning up the middle part of the logo. So hopefully that will not be an issue here going forward. Right now, this fight is in steady control of Sherman Williams, who's a seasoned pro, and right now is the guy landing all the shots, and it's been the right hand. He's been sweeping it and putting it over the top to great effect. You see, again, the referee having another discussion with Chauncy Welliver.
But it's really a conversation more than a referee just saying, just that's it, don't answer me back. They need my dad in there.
Joe, do you remember?
We're not allowed to talk back to you, Dad.
Yeah, well, you'd get the belt. You know, it's interesting. The great old referee, Arthur Mercanti Sr., he used to stop fights right in the middle and said, if you guys don't cut out the talking, I will stop the fight.
Yeah, he allowed no talking whatsoever. Some referees do. Some referees allow the fighters to talk to each other as long as other rules aren't broken. But I've seen judges and referees who get furious with referees for telling them not to talk. Say, hey, they're allowed to talk. Let them talk. A lot of referees who used to be fighters allow the talking. But Arthur allowed no nonsense.
If there's been a steady weapon for Sherman Williams, it has been that right hand. Not only has he shot it to the body, he's also landed it to great effect over the top, using a sweeping motion and right over the top. And right now, it has carried him to a pretty decisive lead, I think, on the scorecards.
You know, I think, Steve, when we speak to these two fighters, the right hand from Sherman Williams, but when we speak to these two fighters after the fight, I think we're going to find Chauncy just tell us, I just never got going. I just never felt comfortable in there, and I never got going. If he tells me anything other than that, I'm
probably lying. Yeah,
I'm going to be shocked because he looks so uncomfortable in there.
Well, now Sherman Williams seems to be having a problem with his eyes, and then it is his right one, and there may be something in there. Not exactly sure why he's getting a timeout. There are no timeouts in boxing. This has just been an odd fight, Joe.
Sure has. And now they're going to wipe his eye. He got sweat in his eye, apparently. I'm being facetious, of course. He must have been thumbed, or claiming to be thumbed. I've never seen a referee. I mean, that's first for me.
This has just been an odd and unusual fight here between Chauncy Welliver and Sherman Williams.
But you know, Steve, in a way, thank goodness for the distractions, for the talking, for the conversations, for the stoppage for the eye, for the stoppage for the holding and hitting. Because other than that, it's been a pretty one-sided affair here.
And there's that right hand over the top again. That one just came up just a little bit short.
Left, right to the body. Action's a little intermittent at this point.
10 seconds. Time.
And that's the end of round number 9.
Interesting action going on in the corner. You see Joe Hip. He's never been talking that closely into Chauncy's ear. I don't need to be a psychic to tell you what I think he's telling him. What do you think he's telling him?
Well, I think he's telling him he's losing. I think if he's honest about it, he's probably telling his prize fighter that this simply is not acceptable.
Now, Joe Hip would go into a 10th round, down 9 rounds, down 8 rounds to 1, with a chance because he had a tremendous punch that Welliver's not known for.
Joe, you referenced this a couple of times, though. Robert Davis is the one guy that was been able to stop Sherman Williams. That took place, I believe, in the late 90s. So we're talking about 15 years ago. The long list of names, quality, solid guys that Sherman Williams has fought, not a lot of guys have knocked him off his feet, much less stopped him. That does not bode well for Chauncy Welliver. Oh, right there he tried to hit off the break. I think that's what Welliver has been talking about.
Exactly. Actually, he commented less on that one, which was more obvious than he has on some of the others. Oh, big right hand.
That was a right hand. Boy, this has just been an odd fight. I think the referee needs to make it clear who's refereeing this fight.
I'm just not sure that there was anything illegal about that blow.
Well, that was certainly an overhand right. The question is, and we're going to have to watch the replays, did it hit on the back of the neck, which is certainly a dangerous shot, but I don't think it was an intentional foul by Williams.
No. And protect yourself at all times does not mean that you spin your next one's a foul, don't hit him in the back of the head. Okay, well, apparently in the referee's determination, it was in the back of the head. I'll wait to see the replay. I didn't think it was the first time around. Now listen, these are journeyman heavyweights. There's no two ways about it. Because they've been around for a long time and that neither one of them has fought for a title or been close to fighting for a title. However, as Williams lands another big right hand to the front, clearly to the front of his head. Now, here's the deal. This is not a Sherman Williams who's dropped 4 of 5 or 5 of 6. He's won 9 of 10.
Yeah, in Sherman Williams, it's very clear which guy has landed the clear, definitive, damaging blows. I think that question answers itself. Sherman Williams with that right hand has dominated most of this fight.
Absolutely. And you know, with his work ethic and his approach to the fight, I mean, if you look at the top 10 heavyweights, you can't say that he wouldn't at least have an opportunity to be competitive with a few of the folks in the 9, the 10.
You know, Joe, you know what he is, though, in all reality? He's a very good, solid gatekeeper. I don't think he's a contender. He's at that age where I think that's past him. He's not a fringe contender. But I think he is the type of individual that if you want to go places and get to that next echelon, people have to beat Sherman Williams. And I think this is a test tonight, quite frankly. Chauncy Welliver has failed miserably.
And I certainly would rather see what at least his people hope is an up-and-coming heavyweight like a Tony Grano take on someone not the 43-year-old Devarro Williamson, but someone along the lines of
Sherman Williams.
Take on a Sherman Williams, only stopped once in his career with your vaulted power, and see what happens. That's a fight that I would like to see, and the winner of that fight then takes a step at least toward a top 20.
So another round in the books, and time is running out for Chauncy Welliver. Joe, we take a look at that replay. Quite frankly, did you see a rabbit punch?
No. Absolutely not. And I saw a lot of Chuck Wepner fights being from New Jersey, so I've seen the best of the rabbit punching, one of the best rabbit punchers in the business, and I didn't see that as a rabbit punch. And you just can't turn your back. You can motion to the back of your head. You can't spin around and expose your back to the fighter you're
This fight has been unusual, Joe. I saw two instances, that one and another one, where a fighter was, in essence, allowed to call timeout. What do they say about boxing? It's the one sport you don't have a timeout. 6 minutes to go. Chauncy Welliver looks like he is on the verge of losing his WBO China Zone heavyweight title, in addition to the WBO Asia Pacific heavyweight title.
And he's losing the opportunity he has to win the IPBU title. So 3 belts in the air, and so far he doesn't seem to be juggling effectively to keep those 3 belts in his possession.
Joe, just looking at this fight going into the first half minute of round number 11, I'm not so sure Chauncy Welliver has landed a good, solid blow yet to Sherman Williams.
No, Sherman's still blinking, though. He may be ready to call another timeout. Sherman Williams in the white trunks, Chauncy Welliver in the black trunks. Sherman Williams, of course, has the colors of his native Bahamas along his belt line and his stripe. Proud to be from Freeport in the Bahamas. And I can tell you that it is one beautiful area of the world.
Halfway through round number 11, we are scheduled for 12, and quite frankly, Joe, I don't see a lot of sense of urgency in Chauncy Welliver, who you'd have to think is down pretty significantly here on the scorecards.
Yeah, I thought Joe Hip was leaning over to whisper in his ear that he needed a knockout, but apparently whatever Joe Hip leaned over and whispered in his ear didn't have much effect because, as you say, no sense of urgency from Chauncy Welliver.
And quite frankly, this fight has ground to a halt in terms of its activity. It was fought at a very slow pace to begin with, but I think that suits Sherman Williams just fine. He is the one in command from the early rounds with a steady barrage of right hands to the body and over the top, building a lead here. A couple of good body shots. One of them may have strayed low from Williams.
Well, I think we would have had an objection from Welliver.
He would have let us know.
Yeah, I'll let the referee know also. They would have had a kind of a sidebar.
Oh, and there's a right hand off the break. Now, that was legitimate.
And it's going to be a point. He's taking a point away. He's got his glove. He warned him. No. He did not take a point away, and I thought he had given a stern warning.
Joe, you know what you call that, though? Veteran savvy. That is the move of an absolute veteran, what Williams has done tonight.
10 seconds.
But I felt, Steve, that the referee had warned him earlier enough to warrant a point deduction.
And again, not much from Welliver. We are 1 round from the finish line. And right now, it seems to be Sherman Williams in complete control. And there you see Joe Hip talking to his prize fighter, who simply has not had a good day. And you see a cuffing right hand over the top from Sherman Williams in what looked to be another round won by the Tank. A lot of mauling taking place in the previous round. Not much action. It's really separated the two. But we are down to our last 3 minutes, and the titles are on the line. And there was the obvious foul from Sherman Williams, but a point was not taken away, hitting on the break, which has been a somewhat regular occurrence for Chauncy Welliver, unfortunately. It was let that really affect him mentally throughout this night. So here they go. They touch him up. We are in our 12th and final round between Sherman Williams and Chauncy Welliver.
I'll tell you, Steve, I've had it 9 rounds to 2, and I was very generous with those 2. 108-101 going into the 12th and final round. So in my book, and I think in any reasonable judge's book, Chauncy Welliver needs a knockout.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I don't know if that is in the offing today. I don't know if he's capable of hurting Sherman Williams. He certainly hasn't done it throughout the first 33 minutes of this prize fight. There's a quick counter right hand right down the middle from Sherman Williams, which has been the story of the night for the Tank. Deft use of that right cross.
Well, Chauncy is coming in with some wide swinging attempts to get some traction going here, needing a knockout in the 12th and final round, and Sherman is countering as a wily veteran will, very effectively. Let's see the next time Chauncy tries to mount an offense and see what Sherman does. This time he's going to hold. Another effective strategy.
Well, I think that suits Williams just fine. He's well ahead on this fight.
Absolutely. So far, Chauncy's mounted 2 offensive thrusts. One was countered.
And there's the story of the fight, Joe. A right hand to the body and a right hand right over the top, both scoring blows.
Sneak right hand there.
Chauncy Welliver throughout the night simply had no mustard or no gas on those punches. They looked very flat and listless throughout.
Joe Hip exhorting his fighter, Chauncy Welliver. Keep punching, come on, keep punching, come on. A minute to go. 3 belts on the line. You wouldn't necessarily know it, though, would you, Steve?
No, well, Sherman Williams has been Sherman Williams. This is what we have gotten from this guy for the past, let's say, dozen years. Chauncy Welliver, very flat, listless, and disappointing outing tonight here in Macau.
Especially considering he won his last 18.
Oh, you see that trap laid by Williams. He almost walked him right into a right hand.
Couple of soft lefts by Welliver.
So Chauncy Welliver, it looks like his 18-fight winning streak may be in grave jeopardy. His last loss was in October of 2008 to the Cuban Odlanier Solis. Did Sherman Williams do enough to take these titles from Chauncy Welliver? We'll find out as we get to the scorecard. Joe, how did you have this fight scored?
I'm going to go 10 rounds to 2 in favor of Sherman Williams, an 8-point decision.
Well, as Sherman Williams takes a bow at all 4 corners, he certainly feels and looks like the winner. And a very disappointing night for Chauncy Welliver, shaking his head. He just get the sense that even he knows this certainly was not a night he's going to put in his scrapbook. Okay, the scorecards are in. Let's go to Philip Player.
And the WBO IPBF World Championship title. Boxers to the center ring, please. Judge one scored 115 to 113 to Williams.
一号裁判115比113。
Judge two scored 114 a draw.
2号裁判114比114。
Scored 113 115. The decision and world champion goes to the Caribbean tank, Sherman Williams.
获胜者就是
Well, they got the winner right, but quite frankly, a little close,
我们。
too close for comfort.